Matt, with the moves today, does this mean you guys are moving forward with Santoso as the kicker, or is that a process that's ongoing?
As of today, he obviously, like everyone else on our team, he's only been with us for one day. I think what he did yesterday was really hard to come in and do operation and go out there and made his kicks. So we feel excited about seeing where he's at, but he'll compete, and we'll take the next several days to evaluate him and if he's our best option.
Next question from Joe Person.
Matt, do you know yet whether you'll keep 2 or 3 quarterbacks? And is there an advantage to keeping 3 like there was last year, or is that less of a factor?
I think it's still a factor. It's probably less than it was maybe last year. We won't make those decisions finalized until Tuesday.
What would you say each of those guys brings to that competition, and specifically what you've seen in most recent days and weeks?
Both really smart. Both can move. Both great guys. And I say great guys in terms of, like, as quarterbacks, they lead the team. They both found a way to move the team last night, which was important. PJ brings an aggressiveness and pushes the ball down the field. Will just gets us in the right play, really intelligent, has a great accuracy. So both really good quarterbacks, I've been on record as a guy here, really, really excited to see both those guys. So we feel good about the position. We'll have some tough decisions to make over the next few days.
Next question from Elena Getzenberg.
Matt, I was wondering if you have any further update on Shi, the injury list.
Yeah, Shi injured his shoulder yesterday. Be out for not too long, hopefully. Just have to kind of wait and play it by ear.
And then I know some cuts were made today. Are you kind of now thinking, you can make some Sunday, some Monday, or do you think it's all going to be kind of Tuesday? How do you kind of see the next couple of days going?
I think most of them will be Monday, Tuesday. We wanted to let a few guys go today, and most of those will happen as we get closer to Tuesday.
And then last quick one for me, just conversation with Joey today, letting him know just what was that like, and obviously making that decision.
Well, I'll keep that conversation between he and I. I'll just say that I have the utmost respect for Joey Slye, both as a professional and as a person. He's been a really valuable and tremendous part of our team. As I said the other day, he's made a lot of kicks in the National Football League, and I 100% believe that Joey's going to move on and go on and have success. And you never know where that's going to be. But at the end of the day, we made the decision we thought was in the best interest of the Panthers. But I can't say enough about Joey, who he is and what he means personally to me and to the guys on the team.
Next question from Antonio Ramos.
Hey, Matt, Miles Hartsfield played 60% of defensive snaps last night. What's your opinion on him, and if he already secured that starting nickel job for week 1?
In terms of securing the job, we have some different personnel groupings. We can utilize, a corner. We can utilize another safety. So we'll do some different things each week based upon what we see. With that being said, I think Miles, obviously he's got some corner abilities in terms of covering and his speed, long speed, while at the same time also the size of a safety. So he's a big safety that can also play nickel. Gives us tremendous versatility. He's smart, excellent special teams player. So he's brought a lot to us.
Next question comes from Steven Toronto.
Coach, I know Joe Judge had been pretty transparent about trying to find a trade partner for Ryan to get an opportunity, but it isn't necessarily often that you see trades for backup kickers. What compelled you guys to give up some draft capital to get Ryan instead of just playing the waiver wire game for a kicker?
We felt like he was the option that we wanted, and we had seen enough of him to know that that he's the guy we wanted to bring in here for a few days and see if he's the right guy for us. For him to get off get off the plane basically with a whole new operation to make a 52-yarder. That I thought that showed tremendous moxie from him. And so, we just felt very compelled that he was the guy we wanted to give, the first look at. And so he's here, and we'll see how he does over the next couple of days.
Next question comes from JB Ricks.
Hey, Coach, appreciate you taking out the time. I wanted to ask you, now that the preseason is, completely over and you can evaluate everything, were there drastic changes that you made as far as your preparation going into a preseason that featured only 3 games, whether you were going to play your starters in game 1, 2, 3, whatever your philosophy was? Were there drastic changes to it compared to, previous preseasons coming in?
I think everyone across the league had to make some decisions, with only having 3 preseason games, but at the same time adding a game, you can look at it like it's game 4 where typically your starters don't play, but now, you don't pay it back on the back end. They're having to play 17 games. So, I think everyone, watch different teams, they've all kind of done it differently. I think the biggest change or decision we made was to go with the joint practices, because we were the only team that played on a Sunday and then finished on a Friday. That was three games in a short amount of time. So I think the joint practices for us were unbelievably vital. They're what we needed, and especially to do it against 2 really good teams. So we've had a chance to measure ourselves in small ways against 3, perennially winning teams. And I think that's good for us as we look at ourselves.
Next question comes from Will Palacic.
Matt, as far as just the chemistry that Sam seems to have with DJ Moore, I think we were all kind of thrown off guard by the fact that his chemistry with DJ seems to be better than Robbie. How much of that was evident last night with the game and watching the film with it?
Yeah, I just think, I think we call plays and there's progressions, and he goes through the progressions. And so, I think I'm not as big of a chemistry guy as much as I am just kind of an execution guy. So I think, obviously DJ's an elite receiver. He gets man coverage. If he's, being covered, we're going to go to him. At the same time, obviously Terrace Marshall, made a lot of catches, and I was really happy the ball was spread around. So, anything that these guys did in other places, anything that they did in New York or anything that doesn't carry over to here, we just want them to go out and execute. So I think going through the progressions when it's called and it gets to DJ, great. When it gets to Danny or Ian, great. When it gets to Robbie, great. And if we can continue to spread the ball around, that makes us way harder to defend.
Next question comes from Skylar Callahan.
Hey, Matt, where do you think Spencer Brown kind of fits into the picture here? I know he's had a pretty solid off camp and stuff. So where do you think he fits in?
Sit. There you go, buddy.
Hey, Josh, please mute your line, Josh. Please mute your line.
Oh, sorry.
Did he sit?
He did. He got a treat.
I love it. I think Spencer's had a good camp. I can't comment on any of these guys too much in terms of, the future for them. I think things are very fluid on our end, and out of respect for those guys. But I just would say Spencer, when he's had an opportunity, he's made the most of it. I think he's a really, really, really good runner. His development comes in the protection game and in the special teams areas. And I think if he continues to develop in those areas, he can be a guy who has a really good career. So as a player we like as a person, the player we like as a professional, the player we like on the field. So hopefully he'll continue to develop and, secure more opportunities.
Next question from David Newton.
Hey, Matt. I know you've worried about depth at linebacker all along. Now you end up trading one. So how do you feel about that? Is that an area you're going to be kind of scouring the wires once cuts are starting to be made to upgrade? And how much did Kirkwood being out for so long with the concussion impact his chances?
Obviously not being out there, affects anybody, right? I think, it was good to get Keith out there last night to, and have him make some catches. I think for, a guy that took that type of a hit to catch the ball across the middle on that third down was, really showed kind of who he is, and a dependable guy. At linebacker, I think at every position, we're always looking, to, hey, what ways can we improve our team? But we also have a lot of versatility. We have guys like Frankie Louvu, who's playing outside backer, who can go inside. So guys like Jeremy Chin and different packages can drop down. So we have some kind of sneaky hidden depth that you don't necessarily recognize when you look at first glance. But that being said, I think the next couple of days, every team in the National Football League is going to be looking at their roster and looking at everyone else and making trades and claiming people. So we'll go through that very same process and see if we can be the best team we possibly could be. Come week one.
And how vital is it to have a fullback in this offense?
I don't think you need one. I think you'd like to have one. I think when you put a fullback on the field, you get different defenses. You're going to get a lot of single coverage to Robbie and DJ, and so it opens up. It opens up, a lot offensively. But you have to have the right one. And so at the end of the day, our philosophy is to have the best 53 we can have, and not get caught up in numbers at positions, but instead get caught up in, hey, who's able to help us win a championship.
Next question from Jonathan Alexander.
Hey, Matt. That 6 wide receiver spot, it seems like there's guys who are kind of pretty close together when determining, among the wide receivers who will make that team. What is most important for you? What are you looking for there?
Really, when you get past the top 2 receivers, and really in some years the top 3, 4th and 5th, or 4 through 6, depending on what you decide to do. You're looking at guys who, they have to be versatile. They can't just play one position. They have to be able to, be a backup at the X, the Y, the Z. They have to play special teams, whether it's being the punt returner or running down on kicks. I mean, we need special teams players at the receiver position. And we're always looking for guys that are, jobs guys, dirty guys who can go down and do the dirty jobs, block the runs, make the tough catch across the middle. So in some way, if they're not going to be a starter here, and this is really for every position, they have to help the team. And at the receiver position, it's versatility, it's health and availability, and special teams, and the ability to block as well. Man.
Next question we have coming from Darren Gant.
Matt, you talked all preseason about offensive linemen and finding your best 5. Are the 5 guys who started last night going to be the starters against the Jets?
I'm not prepared to talk about the Jets or anything like that. I think if we played today, those would be the 5 we put out there.
All right, next question comes from Joe Percy.
Hey, Matt, I have 2. First one, we saw Brady get sort of an extended look at left tackle. Your assessment after watching the film?
Yeah, I mean, his future's more at right tackle. But when you're the rookie, we're trying to, especially a lot of things we did last night, whether it was, situational plays or situational calls or stuff like that. A lot of it's really just to evaluate guys in different areas, different situations. So Brady's a guy that I think can play right tackle, can play right guard, left guard, and can play left tackle in a pinch. So just trying to make sure we expose him to everything in the preseason, so that in the regular season, when we have to call him up to call him up into a certain situation, he at least has experience. And I'm very pleased with Brady Christensen. I think he's had a really good preseason.
And then where Trenton Cannon's concerned, one, is his health going to make it hard to keep him on the 53? And then his versatility, how much does that help you when you're kind of doing the roster math at a couple different positions?
Yeah, so Trenton should be back this week. So I don't, I think that's, he got kind of grabbed last game and kind of came up with a hamstring, but he's a fast healer, and he'll probably be back at some point this week. I think he's probably one of the top gunners in the National Football League, if not the best. He's elite covering kicks, and he obviously brings versatility as a kickoff returner. So, he has the potential to be a weapon, both covering kicks and returning kicks, which is really hard to find. He can help us at the receiver position. He's run the football for us. But really at the end of the day, he's a weapon on special teams. And so, sometimes that can be a luxury. You have to see how all the numbers come together before you make those decisions. But, he's someone that I certainly like having on the team.
That's a question from Josh Klein.
Hey, Matt, last year you talked a lot about how with the extended practice squad rules that the roster was a little bit bigger than 53. Do you still feel, obviously the rules are still the same, so that I would assume those feelings carried over. Do you think a lot of your practice squad guys will be guys that were in camp with you, or will you guys work the waiver wire and do a lot of churn there?
Yeah, I think we were third in the league last year in terms of, the most turnover in terms of doing that. So I think we did that. I think we look at the practice squad as we want them to be guys that we feel like we can develop, that, hey, with a year or two, a guy like Giovanni Ricci from last year, who put on weight, really developed into the position. So we like them to be developmental players. At the same time, we also have to have, backup guys for COVID. So we need different positions. We need to make sure those positions are covered. And then finally, making sure that we can practice at a high level, enough guys at each position. So we'll really kind of approach it in that kind of that 3-pronged deal. But if there's a player out there that gets cut from any other team that we feel like, hey, this is a player we can develop or can help us, we'll bring them in. And a lot of times last year they were just for a look. We want to take a look, see at somebody, would have them for 3 or 4 days and say, hey, does this guy really upgrade us or not? So that was kind of, obviously what we did with Ryan Santoso, brought him in for, 4 days, see what he can do. And he's done well so far. I think it's the same thing as we get into the season. We're just going to consistently try to find guys that can help us. And that extended practice squad helps with that.
Last 2 questions we'll have are Will Polacic and Elena Getzenberg.
Matt, in terms of your depth at linebacker, I know that after the Denzel Perriman trade, that meant, I guess, that you were feeling good about the linebacker depth. How do you feel about, the 5 or 6 guys that you're going to carry forward? I know you can't speak about specifics, but how do you feel about that position as a whole?
Yeah, just what I said to David, we've got some guys who played, and we have some guys at other positions that we feel like can back up inside and outside. Marquise Haynes can go to Sam, Burns can play Sam, Luhu can go inside and play Mike and Will. These guys have experience doing these things. Chin's a guy that can always drop down, in certain packages. So, we like the group that's there. There's been some tremendous competition, for that 5th and 6th spot. We'd like to carry 6 if we can. And as we said earlier, we'll continue to check other players out across the league like every team will do. But the guys who've been in camp have worked hard, and we feel like we have a good group there.
Last question, Elena Getzenberg.
Matt, I wanted to ask you, we haven't asked you a lot about Christian Miller kind of since the beginning of camp, and I was curious what your assessment of him has been since, the start of training camp to now.
Yeah, I think he's come a long way. Coming in the training camp, he was coming off, had some injuries, was not maybe feeling 100%. I walked out of the stadium last night with him, talking to him. I think he's getting his confidence after a year off. Getting his body back to where he feels like he can play at 100%. Had some really great run defense this past game. And again, one of the good things was that group got a chance to go against. Their ones, and I think when obviously Christian got in, I guess it would be against their 2s, but really good players. So we have a chance to see him, stand up to the run. And so Christian's a guy that's worked hard, and I think he's getting confidence. And that's half the battle in this league. I've learned is if players have confidence, they go out and play. They play well. So I like the direction he's trending.
And then if I could just follow up on that super quick, if you're planning on having practice Monday, are there things you're still looking for, like something you'd still like to see, or do you feel like you have a good assessment on pretty much everyone here?
In terms of evaluations, yeah, I think now as we start to practice, we come out of training camp mode. We're now just trying to improve ourselves as a football team, go back and, believe it or not, there's still things on offense that they're installing and putting in. Defensively, you're still putting in wrinkles, situational things. But at the same time, I think we're just trying to polish and perfect what we do. And we have a long way to go in that regard. So, we need to practice. We'll take advantage of this week. We'll work. But at the same time, hopefully, get our legs underneath us a little bit as we head into the extended off time on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for covering us all preseason and training camp. I appreciate it.